I think I'm alive. I'm excited. I will state for those who are already listening or are going to be listening, this is my first live by myself, so give me some credit and some grace. It's a learning curve, but I'm doing it. But today is my 2-year carniversary, September 1st, 2023 to September 1st, 2025 is 2 solid years of being carnivore based. I have been about 98% strict the whole time. And there's times when I'm not strict and I pay for it, and that keeps me strict again. I'm going to make notes as I go along too, so I don't make any mistakes on points I'm trying to make. But I appreciate everybody for either hopping into the live or watching this later on when it's uploaded. During this regimen of being carnivore, first of all, I want to talk how I even got carnivore. For those that are new, my name is Anthony Hayduck. The channel name is Anthony Hayduck for now. On the bottom, it says chemo to carnivore. So I'm actually in the process of trying to transition things to chemo to carnivore. So hopefully within a month or two, I'll have everything transitioned. So when that time comes, I will make an announcement. My channel names have changed. But to summarize my story real quick is July 27th, 2022, I went in and had a surgery done where I had a softball size benign tumor removed out of my stomach and intestines. And I had another smaller tumor removed off my liver. They were all supposed to be benign. We had testing, biopsies, endoscopies, and that's why we proceeded forward with surgery. Flash forward to September 9th, 2022, a month and a couple of weeks after the surgery. I got the biopsy lab results back that those benign tumors were actually cancerous, and I was classified as stage 4. The cancer I deal with is called GIST, G-I-S-T, and it stands for gastrointestinal stromal tumor. Dang, David, you and Lynn are 2.5 years carnivore. That's amazing. I'm proud of you guys. You got me beat by about a half a year. But what's admirable about that is you guys got a couple years on me in life, and the fact that you guys are willing to change and adapt and overcome challenges and be retraining yourselves is admirable and amazing of you two. I remember when I met Lynn this last January over in Linwood area for my very first carnivore meetup I went to, and then seeing her about a month or so ago in Seattle. What a difference just in a few months, or in 6 months of a transition time on how the difference is. And same with you, David. You guys both have transitioned very well in a shorter period of time. And it goes to show you that what you put into your mouth matters. What you put into your body truly matters. But back to the story about me is with carnivore and the surgery and cancer. I got the diagnosis on September 9th, 2022, stage 4, GIST cancer. And at the time, we didn't know what the mutations were. But through imaging and records, that softball-sized tumor they removed out of my stomach, when I was 26 years old, that tumor was the size of a pea, the size of my fingernail. And so from 26 years old to 31 years old, it grew to the size of a softball and spread to the liver. And I actually have quite a few tumors throughout the liver. I hopped on treatment, a targeted TKI therapy for the cancer, during which the cancer got worse. I declined. My quality of life went downhill drastically. I would totally add pictures and show you guys on screen. I just haven't figured that out yet. So if you go to my YouTube channel or my Facebook, there's all kinds of pictures everywhere you guys could see. But during the 130 days of the targeted therapy, I started having heart problems, urinating blood, seizure. The cancer got worse. And once January came around, end of January 2023, we did another PET scan and we found out everything got worse. And I realized I had to change. I had to make a plan or I was going to die at 31 years old. So I made a game plan of doing different diets 3 months at a time because that's what the scan intervals were. And I did, plant-based, vegan, standard American most of my life. I did a little bit of Mediterranean. I did keto. And during my keto phase, I heard about a story of a guy named Jeff the Prosperous. I will always give him and his family a shout out because his story is why I'm still alive and why I'm doing what I'm doing. He was dealing with stage 4 colon cancer and he was doing treatment and he was carnivore based. And he was my very first person I've ever met in my life that didn't look like a cancer patient. Like he was thriving, exercising, doing well. And I'm like, oh, red meat causes cancer. It's not healthy for you. It's bad for you. But this dude's thriving. It doesn't even look like a cancer patient. So that was the next diet I hopped on. And of course, that was September 1st, 2023, when I made the change from keto to carnivore. From September 2023 to December 2023, that 3-month period, I was super strict. Beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. That was it. And I didn't even do store-bought eggs. It was literally farm fresh eggs all the time. I didn't cheat. And during which all the minions I dealt with, I call the tumors minions now, because I hate to refer to having tumors inside of me. And even when I talk about the cancer, I don't claim it. I say the cancer, not my cancer. Words are very powerful. But during that 3-month period of being super strict, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, that was the first time ever throughout my lifetime of dealing with tumors and minions that they stopped growing. The doctors told me it was a fluke. Imaging wasn't proper. They wanted me to hop back on treatment, and I told them no. I told them I wanted to run the test for another 3 months and see what happens. So finally, 6 months into carnivore, and mind you, I got a gym membership February 2023, which was a couple of weeks after quitting treatment. Started going to the pool again, sauna therapy, heard about cold therapy, so I started doing ice showers, cold showers, polar bear plunges, stuff like that. And as I was building my own. So as I was transitioning through different diets, going to carnivore based, I was still, changing my lifestyle, exercising, positive thoughts, eventually got into God and religion. And 6 months into carnivore, with all my regimen I was doing with supplements, the European mistletoe, which is an experimental drug through a naturopathic office. Europe uses European mistletoe for cancer treatments, but in America, it's not proven to work. So FDA won't approve it. So I pay out of pocket for it every month. But 6 months into carnivore, I actually had some signs of tumor shrinking. Not all shrunk, but some did. And again, the doctors told me it's a fluke. The cancer is smart enough, it could turn on and turn off when it wants to. And my lifestyle and food choices have nothing to do with it. So again, I argued with them and it's my life, my choice. I feel the best I've ever felt in my entire life. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing. So flash forward till now. And by the way, if you guys have any questions, I'm learning how to run the social media stuff and do these streams. So if you have any questions, put QQQ in the comments and I will click on it and put it on the screen and answer questions too during which. But during my 2 years of carnivore, I have been able to reverse not all, but the vast majority of issues I was dealing with and side effects from chemo. Like I spent 9 or 10 months urinating blood because of treatment. My left kidney was having issues. Had 3 different urinary stent surgeries because of my kidney issue. And since I've been carnivore based, I've had no urinary stent. I've been able to remove it. I'm able to urinate normal now. No more seizures. I've actually, knock on wood, I am now 2 years seizure free. I was never truly diagnosed with epileptic seizures or epilepsy, But when I was 18 years old is when I had my first seizure that I remember. I remember I was at school in the classroom. I remember standing up and just collapsing back down, and woke up with the paramedics ripping my clothes off, and hitting me with a defibrillator to get me going again. And that happened twice in the same day. I woke up in the ICU. And ever since 18 years old up to 31, it was like once or twice a month I'd have a seizure. Didn't know when they were coming. They were random. Luckily, knock on the wood, I never had one at work when I was in the trees, but definitely scary. But what I've realized through this journey with nutrition, lifestyle change, and mindset change is people that deal with seizures and epileptic style seizures go to a keto or carnivore style diet, and their seizures are controlled. And like I said, I'm 2 years now seizure free, and at my worst, and this is back during treatment and even right before treatment of the chemo treatments, I had 3 or 4 seizures in one day before. And when I woke up from the last one, I had an irregular heartbeat and dealt with afibrillation issues. And right now, no more heart issues, no more afibrillation issues, no more seizures. It's been a blessing. And during this regimen of carnivore, and I dealt with heart doctors. I've actually been through 3 different heart doctors in a couple of years. And I was on different heart medications like metoprolol and some other stuff to help control the seizures or help control the afibrillation. And the medication they gave me didn't help anything. It actually made me feel worse. And the sad part about it is my heart doctor I deal with now, last time I seen him, he asked, well, how you doing? How's your heart? Blah, blah, blah. And I told him, hey, I'm seizure free. I'm afibrillation free. I'm doing amazing. I'm exercising hard. I'm running. I'm doing like Tough Mudder events. I'm actually doing a Spartan race in a couple of weeks. Actually, 13 more days, I'm doing a Spartan race. And I'm able to push my body like I've never pushed it before. And my heart's fine and my body's fine. My heart doctor asked me, well, do you want your heart medication back? I'm like, apparently you didn't listen to my story. So with all that being said, my biggest thing I want to tell to people is you got to be your own advocate. Nobody knows how we feel other than ourselves, and nobody deals with the repercussions of what we deal with. Like, for example, if I'm the doctor and I tell you to take something and it doesn't sit well with you, I'm not going to know how it's doing unless you tell me. And of course, I don't know how many of you guys have done chemo. Hopefully not many, because I hate people having to go through that stuff. But chemo caused really bad neuropathy. My hands hurt all the time. I didn't have any grip strength. Actually, for the longest time, this is kind of not a bad example, but I used to walk around with a coffee cup with hot water, just holding it like this, so I could have some type of sensation in my hands without pain. Ooh, here's a question. I'll pull it up real quick. Midlife carnivore. How long did you do chemotherapy or chemo before you decided to stop? So I did one type of treatment of chemo. It was a TKI therapy, which is tyrosine casein inhibitor. It's targeted. It only goes after certain cells, supposedly. Well, for one, it didn't go after certain cells. It aged me. It caused a lot of problems. My face went white. My hair went white. It carried all my hair follicles. But that therapy, it was called sunitinib, and they were 37.5 milligram capsules. I took a pill a day for 130 days straight with zero break. And during which I was in different cancer groups, different GIST cancer groups. And I was asking people, hey, who's on this line of therapy? The sunitinib. What's your regimen like? How do you take it, etc.? Everybody I talked to, which was dozens and dozens and dozens of people, kept telling me that they were on it, but they were pulsing it. They'd do it for so long, so many days a week, then they'd take a couple of days off, and then they'd do it for so long, take some days off. So the next time I went to the doctor, the oncologist, I'd asked them, why am I taking this medication, this treatment every day without a break. Everybody else I know is getting a break and I am not. It's really hard on my body. And the response I got from not one, but a few different oncologists is, well, we missed your cancer for so long that we need to keep the treatment up without breaks because we don't want it to get worse. And that was kind of hard to deal with because I didn't agree with it. My quality of life went really down. And once I quit treatment, January 31st, 2023, I went and seen a GIST specialist finally, which is out in another state. I had to wait a while because insurance didn't want to cross state lines right away. I had to fight to get to see this GIST specialist. So in February, I finally went and seen a GIST specialist, and he then prescribed me a second type of therapy. And if you hold on a second, I actually have it with me still. Here, I saved it for a souvenir. It's kind of a part of my language, kind of effed up thing to save. But here's the second therapy. Caution, a hazardous drug. Observe safety precautions for handling. You have to wear gloves when you wear this. You have to wash your hands afterwards. I wasn't allowed to touch my dog or anything. That's how bad it was. But the second line of therapy is called Stivarga. Recrofib tablets, 40 milligrams. I took those therapy for 7 days. I think I started that in March of 2023, but I took it for 7 days. And within those 7 days of taking it, the side effects were not just as bad, but they were worse than the Sunitinib. And that wasn't living to me. So I told the doctor, I'll still be your patient, or I told the oncologist, I'll still be your patient. But with that being said, I'm not doing any of these therapies. And again, we all have our own opinion on life, but to me, it's not about quantity of life, it's about quality of life. I'd rather live 40 years old, 50 years old, 35 years old, and have the best life possible versus live to be 80 or 90 and be miserable and not be able to do anything. Hold on. So midlife carnivore, I got to pull this up. I'm sorry. It's so good. Right there. Yes, it's crazy that you could swallow it, but you have to wear gloves to handle it. So that in itself shows you and says how toxic those medications are. And when you're at the local oncologist center, every bathroom has a sign. I should have took a picture of it, but it says, if you're a chemo patient or a cancer patient, you need to flush twice. So that's how toxic your waste is too. You know, whether it's urine or feces, you have to double flush because what you're doing, what you're taking is so toxic. It's kind of screwed up. And again, this isn't medical advice. This is a conversation, not a consultation. I'm just a guy who barely made it through high school, and I worked in the woods most of my life as a climber, faller, just hard laborer my whole life. But the fact that I'm able to apply myself and learn what I've learned in a short amount of time, and technically a lot of it learned is through the cell phone and laptop, just internet. Instead of living for entertainment, I've learned to apply myself to understand the human body, my human body, and how I feel, so I could feel good. And then later on in life, I could entertain myself because I feel good. You know what I mean? But with what I've learned, and this is my opinion, you guys could correct me on my thought process, but if you break your left wrist, are you going to wear a full body cast from your neck down to your feet for a broken wrist? I have not found anybody on planet Earth to say yes to that. So if you won't wear a full body cast for a broken wrist, why would a person subject themselves to chemotherapy or a targeted therapy when it doesn't target the cancer cells itself? It targets a lot of cells, and you need your healthy cells to help protect you and fight illnesses, inflammation, and everything else. So why would you want to harm your healthy cells? And honestly, from what I've understood, thanks to Professor Sidfree and other people I follow and study, having cancer inside of you isn't that bad if you can manage it. It's when you don't manage it and you let it be, when you let it run out of control is when it gets bad, or the treatment behind it is what's bad. I lost my father in 2019 from cancer, and I'm a firm believer it was the treatment that intensified it and what took his life, not the cancer itself. And I'm going to keep that story really, really short because not many people know about it. But my father, he turned 60 in March 2019. Like a month or two after his birthday, he was diagnosed with cancer. From the time he got diagnosed to the time he passed August 21st, 2019. So it's what, March. So it was within 6 months of his birthday, he had passed away. But in that time, he had 4 different surgeries while dealing with cancer and while doing with treatments. So explain to me from a common sense base how somebody battling cancer, doing treatments, is recommended to go through all these surgeries back to back to back and not let your body heal. It's no wonder why he passed away so quick. You know, his body couldn't keep up with what the doctors are doing to him. And it sucks. And again, we're all different. We all have to figure it out for ourselves. But you have to be your own advocate with things. And so in my case, dealing with just cancer, now seeing a specialist oncologist over in Portland, Oregon, who deals with just cancer, we have found out I deal with mutations. I mean, all cancers have mutations, but I deal with an SDHA deficient mutation. And through my understanding, that is dysfunctional mitochondria. And as we know, this mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cells. And I'm a firm believer if you have dysfunctional mitochondria, that's what mutates cells, and that's what brings out, you know, cancer or diabetes or Crohn's or whatever else, because your mitochondria will mutate and not be happy, and underlying illnesses come from that. But what's funny to me is I've been through 11 oncologists. I'm actually on number 11 right now. And out of all 11 oncologists, I've only had 1 or 2 tell me to keep up doing what I'm doing. And the 1 or 2 that I've had tell me, one I still see locally and the other one retired. But everybody else told me I'm just lucky. I'm just a miracle. And my comeback to that and my response is, if I was lucky or if I was a miracle, the treatment you guys put me on would have worked. I'm alive and I'm doing so well because I've applied myself to get this far. And it goes back to another analogy I have is mindset's everything. I've been telling people now for quite a while is don't let an illness, a diagnosis, disability, or deformity define who you are and what you're capable of. It all starts up in here in the mind and in the heart. You got to believe it, and then you can go after it. But back to Carnivore real quick, because I'm all over the map. I can't help it. But with Carnivore, my heart doctor and other people, even at the gym, like trainers, coaches, they're like, why in the F would you want to go Carnivore? You spent 7 or 8 months in the gym to this point to gain size and muscle. You can't build muscle on Carnivore. You're going to deplete yourself. You're going to eat your muscles. And what's funny about that is I'm stronger now than I've ever been in my entire life. Like, I have abs, I have biceps, I have pecs. I mean, you can see them dance there. But what's funny about that is I did a Tough Mudder race this last year with the local gym. We had 4 or 5 different trainers go with us and a whole bunch of other people. What I ate that morning of the race was a couple beef patties and a stick of butter. That is it. I raced, it was like 10 miles, 30 obstacles. It took 4 hours to do. I was the only, I shouldn't say the only, but I was one of the few people that didn't cramp up. And I was the only person who woke up the next day willing and ready to hit it again. Everybody else was tired and sore, and I wasn't. And I was the only person, too, out of the group that didn't stop and eat a banana at every break table. Didn't need it. So my performance, whether it's cardio or strength training, has gone through the roof being fat adapted. And from a comparison standpoint, when I first started the gym, when I was carbohydrate based, I actually brought food with me to the gym to power my workouts because I'd get halfway through and I would need to eat because I just got tired and winded. And I could actually now work out in a fasted state and still do good. Back in January, I went 7 days with no food. It was a 7-day wet fast, just water and salt only. And I hit the gym every day for those 7 days. And I mean, the volume wasn't there, but the strength still was. But the difference that I've noticed between carbohydrate based and fat adapted in the gym is when you're carbohydrate based and you're eating for your macros to the gym based style diet. Yes, I put on size better and quicker. You know, I got up to 195 pounds, 200 pounds within 6 or 7 months. And I started at like 150, 160. But I was fluffy, you know. The muscles were big, but they weren't solid. And when I went to fat adapted, I lost a little bit of size. You know, my biceps shrunk a little bit, my shoulder shrunk a little bit, etc. But my muscles are really dense and hard. So I call that the sponge effect. You know, you take a brand new sponge, it's dry, it's kind of shriveled up and hard. Then you get it wet, it gets bigger, but it's squishier. That's what carbohydrates do to your muscles, in my opinion. But yeah, as far as what I've healed with carnivore in 2 years, I'm no longer urinating blood. I'm no longer having seizures. I'm no longer having to bring food with me to the gym to work out. My brain fog's gone, so I have mental clarity. AFib and seizures are gone. Cholesterol levels actually have improved, which that's why how do you phrase it? That's why my heart problem stopped, because our bodies run off a lot of cholesterol. I don't know the percentage, but hormones are made out of cholesterol. And speaking of hormones, this is kind of a hard subject to talk about, but I've talked about it in the past. Chemotherapy fried my testicles. After chemo, you know, my hormone levels were low. My mentalness was low. I was suicidal. I felt like shit. I was like a walking zombie. And I'd asked all my Western medicine doctors, whether it was oncology, PCP, urologist, heart doctor, didn't matter who it was. I asked all of them, let me get my hormone levels checked. Something's not right. And there's no sex drive. I mean, being honest, my pecker didn't work. I couldn't get hard. And not one freaking Western medicine doctor would check my hormone levels. I had to go see a naturopathic doctor and pay out of pocket to get my hormones checked. And my testosterone levels came back at 200 or 240, something like that. I was compared to a 12-year-old girl. Very sad. Here I am, a 31-year-old male, and I'm compared as a 12-year-old woman or 12-year-old girl. So working with a naturopathic doctor, he's like, hey, once you get through all your stages of different diets, we'll test you again. And of course, from that time till carnivore, my levels didn't change at all. I hopped on carnivore and he's like, hey, be strict. Your hormone levels should change because hormones are made out of healthy fats. Carnivore is a high fat diet, not a high protein, but a high fat protein. My protein intake from carb based versus fat based has not changed. It's still about 185 to 200 grams a day. But my fat intake is what changed. I don't know what I'm like, 350 grams of fat a day, something like that. I don't know, like 2,000 calories a day come from fat. But being carnivore based for 3 months, my hormones, my test levels didn't change at all. Still, you know. And then I found an article saying that succinate malate not these pills, but the ones I took prior to those, called hypogonadism, where your testicles don't work. And with all that being said, I had two choices. I either hopped on the needle or I hopped on a pill, but I had to hop on something to raise my testosterone levels. I chose the needle. I stabbed myself with testosterone, but, and this is where things get very interesting, and I'm being honest about it. When I first started testosterone shots through the naturopathic doctor, it's all legal and licensed, I was stabbing myself with 0.5 milliliters twice a week, which is only a half of an insulin syringe each stabbing. Not a big dose. During which my levels went from 200 or 240 up to like 1400 in a couple of months' time, which was 1400 is intensely high. So we reduced the dose. I went from 0.5 milliliters twice a week to 0.3 milliliters twice a week. And my levels went from 1400 down to 740, which is average, normal in today's world. But what's even more interesting is once I started learning about hormones, the body, healthy fats, cholesterol, the whole 9 yards, and supplementation, I started adding new supplements in, like ashwagandha, horny goatweed, shilajit mushroom, or shilajit. I started doing cold therapy, started doing all these different lifestyle changes and supplement changes to help with hormones. And I've actually been able to reduce my dose of testosterone to now 0.2 milliliters twice a week. And my levels are raising, actually. The last time I got checked, I was right around 900 to 950. And my dose of testosterone is smaller than it used to be. So the goal is actually to heal my body enough I could get off the needle completely, which is amazing. Hey, one up for all caught alive. Great. Oh, there's even Adam. Hi, Adam. Hi, everybody. But yeah, so yes, I'm being honest. I was on the testosterone shots, 0.5 milliliters twice a week. And then I went to 0.3 milliliters twice a week, and now it's at 0.2 twice a week. And I'm actually, within the next 6 months, I'd love to wean off completely. I've actually talked to Dr. Kiltz about it once because he's a fertility doctor. I would love to get to the point where I could go like 4 or 5 months with no testosterone at all and just keep my regimen up and see what my levels do. And if my levels stay the same, I don't need a needle anymore. And for those of you that want to say, oh, you're just on a needle because of strength training or bodybuilding, I would love for you to be in my predicament and do what I did, because for the first 8 months in the gym, I didn't use the needle and I still got plenty of gains. I could show you all the picture progress and video progress of what I looked like from day one till I hopped on the needle, and then from the needle till now. And the regiment, the training, all that is what's giving me what I'm doing. Because there's guys in the gym that are on TRT that are abusing it, doing a full syringe twice a week. Their levels are 2,000 plus or 1,800 plus, and they don't have a physique like me, but they're also eating shitty food. They're not doing cold therapy. They're not intermittent fasting. They're not doing all that stuff. So going back to context of how I built the physique I have, I'm doing cold therapy, sauna therapy, intermittent fasting, regular fasting, aggressive training, all these different things to make a full circle to get my results. Ooh, we have a new question. Pull it on screen. Midlife carnivore. How long did the doctors give you to live after you were diagnosed? So that's a good question. I'm glad you asked. The day I got the diagnosis was my 31st birthday, and I straight up asked the doctor. Her name was Dr. Dye, which is kind of a crazy name for a doctor to have. But Dr. Dye, when I asked her how many months I have left, or how long is your estimated timeline for me, because I explained my father's situation, that he passed within 6 months of the diagnosis. And her straight up answer was, I don't really have the legality to give you an actual day, but my educated guess, being how we've missed it for so long and it's, intensified now through surgery, we estimate 6 months unless you hop on treatment. And that 130 days of treatment is what, 30 days a month, 30, 60. I did 4 months and like a week of treatment, 4.5 months of treatment. And like I said, I wish I could pull up the picture on the screen. I don't know how to do that yet, but I went from 31 years old to about 71 years old in those 130 days. And now I am off treatment I quit treatment January 31st, 2023, and today's September 1st, 2025. So I am 2 years and 9 months, 2 years and 8 months, I think, off treatment. And what's crazy is I've been told by many oncologists that I will need treatment the rest of my life. Without treatment, I have a death wish. And I'm doing better now and feeling better now than I have as a child even. And I'm living with stage 4 incurable GIST cancer. And what's crazy about that is I went to a GIST conference this last year in Portland where they talked about GIST cancer, different treatment options, different mutations, and literally on the screen, I have an email in my phone on the video, but literally in this discussion straight up says there is no known treatment or cure for the mutations I deal with the cancer I deal with. That's why I didn't have success with the Sunitinib, but that's why I didn't have success with the Stivarga. It's really sad that I had to figure out all on my own though. And then on top of that, when I finally got to cojones and the confidence to ask the oncologist, why would you put me on a treatment if there is no treatment for me? Well, we wanted to see if it works, if that was the response I got. So I was basically their guinea pig, knowing that they knew, or I was their guinea pig that they knew it wasn't going to work, but they put me on it anyway. And so my thought process is they just wanted the write-off. They wanted the money. They wanted the paycheck. They didn't care about me at all. That's my opinion. That's my thought process. And it's sad. I've actually been kicked out of 3 or 4 different cancer groups because of going against the grain of the standard care treatment. And the sad part about that is when I was on the standard care treatment, progressively getting worse and declining, everybody in those cancer groups gave me sympathy, felt sorry for me, the whole 9 yards. But the moment I explained to them, hey, I quit treatment, I'm going to make a game plan, do it myself, I started getting backlash from most of the people, even the admins. I had a couple different admins in these groups send me messages privately. I actually have screenshots and screen recordings of them on how hateful and harmful messages they sent me talking shit about my situation. It's just sad that some people are that way, and I pray for those people. Let's see, one hope for all. I just read a comment. I gotta pull this up. It's not a question, but it's good. I like it. I'll show it to you. One hope for all. I just read a comment from someone on one of your other videos saying that keto is better because eating more meat is not good for your heart. And this is what her response is. This is the response. But I mean, it's supposed to be you, not yours. She did a typo, but you said them straight. That's awesome. And honestly, here's another one. It's not a question, but I'm going to put it up there real quick. Is Midlife Carnivore, you're such an inspiration for people with cancer. And what I want to say with that real quick and go off a little tangent is, and I said it earlier, don't let an illness or a diagnosis, deformity define who you are, what you're capable of. According to what I've understood through Professor Thomas Sidfree and other people I've followed, is tumors are a tumor for a reason. They have a sac around them. The cancer itself isn't what's going to kill you directly unless you poke the bear with it. And that is why biopsies are so bad, because once you biopsy it, you're breaking that seal and you're poking the bear. And same thing with surgeries. Unless you have a good surgeon to get extra meat around the tumor sac and not break the sac at all, you'll do good. But at the moment you screw up and poke the sac, it could release that and spread things. And our bodies are intelligent enough to know that and understand that. It was really hard for me to be vocal about my story in the beginning. I never had a YouTube channel. I never had TikTok or Instagram. I just had Facebook for, since high school times. And so I know a lot of people because I went to 2 different school districts and I've worked all over Clallam County where I live. I didn't want to text everybody every week or every checkup to know what's going on. So I just started, hey, this is what's going on. I'm going in for surgery. Wish me luck, pray for me, etc. And then through the journey, meeting Carrie, meeting Adam, mainly meeting Jeff the Prosperous, because I met him first. He's like, dude, you need to talk about your story and help people, because that's what he was doing. So I've had to face a lot of my fears for you guys to inspire you guys. And one of those fears is public speaking, or just speaking in general. When I lost my father in 2019 from the cancer treatments he was on and the cancer, it was all family and friends at his celebration of life at his funeral. Maybe about 50 of us total, less than 60 for sure. And I knew everybody. Like, I grew up with them all. I knew them. They were workmates, friends, colleagues, etc., family. I was so scared and so chicken, I didn't even speak at my own father's funeral. I just sat there in the back and cried and huddled up in a ball, basically, and kept to myself. I didn't even talk to anybody. And that ate at me for a long time because I let my cowardness show versus be courageous. And through this journey with cancer, vocalizing it, I've learned to face my fears. I've spoken now at not 1, but 2 different carnivore functions. One was in Vegas for Christopher Bramlin. One was in Seattle, Washington for Healing Humanity. Wow, Healing Humanity. Tongue twister. But it's been a blessing because now I've impacted so many people around me. How do I say this? When I was at my worst under treatment and declining, I did a will. I bought a cemetery plot. I literally got everything set in stone. So hypothetically, if I died tomorrow, everything's dealt with. And I did all that because when I lost my father in 2019, he wasn't responsible and didn't have anything dealt with. Didn't have a cemetery plot. Didn't have a will. Didn't have anything set in stone. So when the time come that he passed, nobody in the family, well, I shouldn't say nobody in the family, me and my sister who, took charge, we didn't have time to grieve. We just had to go in, deal with the legal stuff, find a cemetery plot, purchase it, figure out how to deal with all the paperwork legalities since he didn't have a will. And respectfully, he was a hoarder. He had a hoarding disability or a diagnosis, whatever you want to call it. And he had a 3-story house filled to the ceiling full of stuff. One of these days, I'm actually going to make a video about it to publicize it so people knows what I'm dealing with and what my sister dealt with. But it took me and my sister 2 years to clean out the house of all the junk. That's how bad it was. So having to be responsible for myself now. So if or whenever my time comes to pass, people around me get to actually grieve and have their moment of rest and peace versus have to scramble to do the hard stuff like me and my sister had to do. But I could not tell you on how grateful I am. And this is kind of weird, or pardon the language, kind of fucked up to say. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here or not, but I just did. But I am so blessed and so thankful and so grateful for the stage 4 diagnosis of cancer that I deal with, because it's made me apply myself to be a better version of me. And the better version of me has impacted people around me. And it's crazy because I'm from a little small town that maybe has 15,000 people in the city limits, maybe 19,000 people now, not that many. But what's crazy about it is my story, or this story that I'm dealing with, has made it worldwide. And I've talked to people in Japan, I've talked to people in Australia, I've talked to people in Europe, UK, like all over the world. And that is the power of social media and technology. And I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, I went through all the struggles, the pain, the stress, the bleeding, the misery, because I've made it to this point to help you guys out with your journeys. And what I want to say real quick is I've had people come up to me and, well, Anthony, I can't vent to you, or I can't relate to you because what you're dealing with is so crazy. I don't even want to tell you about my situation. And what I tell them is, tell me about your situation. Let me spread some of the weight for you, because every one of us deals with something, whether it's cancer, diabetes, depression, our own thought process. You know, we all have that sinful nature inside of us, in my opinion. We all have those negative thoughts at times. You know, we could all be our worst enemies. And if we spread the load to God, to friends, to families, to people in our life that actually care for us, we all take an equal pressure off, and makes it that much easier for everybody. So even now, fighting what I'm fighting, I'm here for everybody that I can be, you know, whether it's a friend, a family member, a stranger. As a matter of fact, when I end this live stream, I'm going to go pick up my friend or meet her at the hospital and stay with her for quite a while, because I don't want her there by herself. Hold on a second. One hope for all. I'm gonna pull up a couple of your comments real quick. One hope for all. The development of a tumor is actually the body's way to protect the body. You're absolutely right, and that is why I'm against biopsies and most surgeries, because because you're just gonna make things worse. But far as this one, I don't know what you mean by I don't see a money button. I don't know what you mean by that. But I'm gonna end this live in about 10 minutes. I'm gonna do an hour and call it good. So if there's any other questions, I will gladly answer them now towards the end of the segment. But with 2 years of carnivore, I have no regrets. And my plan is to, how do I phrase this? My plan is to stay carnivore, proper human diet the rest of my life. Like I said, I've allowed myself to cheat a couple times, and every time I cheat, I get bloating issues, I get bathroom issues, I get acne again, or bumps in the skin, rosacea issues. And to me, that's not living, you know. Even my beard, for that matter, my beard's really soft these days, and it's because I've switched from regular beard grease and oils to beef tallow for my skin and face and beard, and it's improved my hygiene, it's improved my beard, it's improved my facial hair, which, of course, beef tallow is a healthy fat, and we're designed for that. So, speaking of which, I forgot to say, when I did go carnivore, I lost a lot of my acne issues. I used to have acne all over my face. I used to have acne on my chest and on my back. I don't have that anymore unless I cheat. One hope for all. I'm going to pull this up real quick. One hope for all. Next to the comment field, there should be a money button for us to give a super chat, but I don't see that button. So this is my opinion or thought process. Anybody could correct me on this because I don't have an answer. But in order to be a money button for a super chat, I would assume I need to have something set up for collecting the money, like through an online account or banking account. And being how I don't have any of that set up, I'm assuming that's why I don't have the option for the button. That's my assumption. Or like Lynn says, or midlife, I don't know if a lot of people say, yeah, maybe my channel needs to be bigger too, or both. But either way, you guys want to help me grow my channel, I gladly will. Like I said, I'm trying to do content best I can. Everyone subscribe. Yes, 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 yes. But my biggest thing that I've said this in other comments or other streams with other people is with the human body and the mouth, just because it fits in the mouth doesn't mean it's food. And so as a comparison to that, you have vehicles, right? You have gasoline, electric, and diesel, or a hybrid. Just because it fits in the fuel tank doesn't mean it's actually fuel. So if you take a gasoline rig and pour water in it, or diesel in it, or even piss in it, is it going to run? No. If you take a diesel truck and you put gasoline in it, is it going to run? No. Engines require certain fuel sources, and our bodies are, in my opinion, basically an engine that runs off of minerals and nutrition. And so you need to put the right minerals and nutrients into your body to get the optimal performance. And as another quick comparison with that is, look at dragsters, like the Top Fuel dragsters. They run off of, I think they run off of two different types of fuel source. They run off of nitromethane for their high-end stuff, and then they have alcohol as well. I don't know, that might be backwards, but they start them up on one fuel source, and as they're running, they will switch them to another fuel source to get more performance out of them. So our bodies, yes, they could run off of multiple fuel sources, which is carbs or fat, but your performance and the way you feel is going to be different between what you're putting into your body. And what's crazy about that, as my own comparison, is I've never been a fan of cardio. I've hated it. It's never been fun. And I never was a runner. And I could run up to 3 miles or 3.5 miles without a break now. And I don't even train for running. I just feel like jogging one day, I'll go jog. And last year on 9/11, I did the stair climber challenge for the Fallen Heroes, which was 112 flights of stairs in fire gear. So I had like 60 pounds of gear on me. It took me about an hour to do that many flights of stairs, but that was the same amount of flights the Twin Towers had. And so the fact that I was able to do that in an hour and survive just proves you on how important it is to put the right fuel source of energy into your body. And to go off of Sandra, One Hope for All's comment, all that saturated animal fat is energy. I 100% agree. If you look in my fridge, all my butter has teeth marks in it because I literally just eat it off the stick. A lot of people think I'm crazy for that, but until you understand it yourself and do it yourself, it's hard to relate to. But I am super blessed for the journey. I'm super blessed for all the struggles that I've been through, because I have managed to get where I'm at to help you guys do better, inspire you guys. And I want to say a body in motion stays in motion. You know, I mean, yeah, we need a rest. That's where we heal, but we're not designed to be lazy. We're designed to move. We're designed to work. We're designed to use our brains to think. And The sad part about it is a lot of us, in my opinion, don't think. We just rely on the doctors or the government or whoever to tell us what to do versus applying ourselves to understand it ourselves. And we all have the power to take our cell phone, because 99% of us have a cell phone, and actually start researching stuff for ourselves. And like I tell my friends, what's 3 months out of your life, or what's 60 days out of your life? Just be disciplined, be strict, find an accountability partner to help you with your 2 or 3 month strictness, and apply yourself to the proper human diet and lifestyle. Take a picture on day one, take notes on day one, and track how you do and how you look and how you feel for a 2 month or 3 month period. And if by chance you get worse during those 2 or 3 months, yes, I understand, quit it. But I have not met anybody in this journey who applied themselves for 2 or 3 months to the proper human diet and proper human lifestyle that hasn't had successes. You just have to apply yourself, find somebody or some people to help you transition, be accountable. And there's lots of groups out there. I know Dr. Shafee has groups. I know Steak and Butter Gang, Bella has groups. Dr. Kilt's has Dr. Kilt's Mighty Tribe. There's Healing Humanity. There's so many groups out there you could be a part of that they will help you teach you, keep you accountable, so you can be the best version and feel the best you can ever. But I'm going to end this live in about 3 minutes. So any more questions, feel free to add them into the chat with the QQQ. I appreciate you guys for staying along today on my 2-year carnivorsary. And one of my comments real quick about carnivore is, like, I've heard people so many times, well, carnivore is just a weight loss diet. What's funny is I put on 20 pounds, 20 or 25 pounds in my 2 years of carnivore. So if it's a weight loss diet, how do I put on pounds? It's because I put on muscle, I put on healthy fats versus, just losing weight. All right, so we got a question. QQQ. Anthony, do you have a set day and time that you come on live, or do you just come on live whenever you feel? Right now, honestly, it's whenever I feel. I try to do it by like important dates. So like today is my 2-year anniversary. That's why I decided to do a live. I plan to go live again if I could figure it out on 9/11 for the Stair Climber Challenge again. I'm just going to do that live on YouTube. I won't be able to respond to any comments, but I'll just be there on the stairs climbing for hour and a half in fire gear. That's the goal. But I would love to long-term make a plan where I come on live, maybe weekly or bi-weekly on a certain day. I just have to get organized enough to do that. Midlife carnivore. What are your long-term goals? So my long-term goals is, of course, to be carnivore. If I could become cancer-free, that's the main goal. But as long as I can live a good life for the rest of my life, living with cancer and beating it and thriving with it, I'm fine with that as well. But my long-term goals for helping people would be, I'd love to get certified. I'd like to be a certified carnivore coach so I could help transition people from the standard American to keto, or standard American to carnivore. And again, this is my opinion and thought processes. Some of us can handle keto and some of us can handle carnivore. It just really depends on what level of keto or what level of carnivore you want to become or have the tolerance for. I myself didn't do good on keto because if I tease myself with carbohydrates, I want more carbohydrates. And then I'd love to get to the point with my channel once I get better with the technology where I can do interviews with people like Carrie does or Dave Mack does, people in my hometown, my friends, and keep continuing spreading the word of how important this is. Well, everybody, unless there's any more questions, we are at the hour mark. I want to say hi and to say I'm thankful and grateful for everybody hopping in and asking questions and being good. I appreciate it. This was my very first live I've done by myself. I was a little bit nervous, but I got through it. I'm going to end this unless there's any quick questions. I appreciate you guys. Much loves and blessings. And like I said, I plan to go live on 9/11. I'm not sure what time yet. I got to find out from the gym when I'm allowed to go there and do the climber challenge without, interrupting the gym, because you're not supposed to record at the gym. But you guys have a great night and blessings. And I will be making a Facebook post as soon as I find out about when I'm going to go live next. You guys have a good night. Blessings. Congratulations, real quick. Hold on. Congratulations on your 2 years last week. That's amazing. You guys have a great night. I'm going to end this. Bye.